Hey everybody, Joe from Syncoplay Retro Gaming, and today we're going to take a look at a Famicom starter kit for players who are looking for a little bit more adventure in their lives. One of the most diverse genres on the Nintendo Famicom was the adventure game. But unfortunately, many adventure games that came out in Japan never saw an English translation, never made it to the US or to Europe. So we're going to take a look at 5 Famicom starter games that are completely playable by an English audience, beatable by an English audience, and are excellent adventure games. So let's start out with the Goonies. Now, America saw the Goonies too, but we never actually saw this original outside of the arcades. This original game is, while it's a couple years older than the Goonies 2, has a lot of the same feel. It's a side-scrolling adventure game with kind of small open worlds instead of the one large one, and tons of hidden items and hidden secrets to explore. And while the game is actually fairly easy to make it to the end and complete it, if you want to find all the hidden items, all of the secrets, a couple of alternate paths, it can actually be quite a daunting task and take many playthroughs in order to really feel like you have seen everything inside the Goonies. This game is highly, highly recommended, particularly if you're a fan of side-scrolling platformers and adventure games. Next up is a game that I feel like we don't really talk about nearly often enough, and that is Kemco's Space Hunter. So Space Hunter is an early Metroidvania where you are kind of a hero girl flying between different planets, and each planet is a little open world that you fly around like with your jetpack, collect items, drop bombs, blow stuff up, find secret passages, and eventually work your way into finding a boss room to defeat the boss. Now, it kind of has elements of Metroid, elements of Xerxes. It's a very unique and interesting little game. And even some of the mechanics are super unusual for the time. Let's take the bombs, for instance. They almost feel like they've come from Bomberman, but are inserted into a Metroid-type game, where I place a bomb, and then it destroys anything within a horizontal line from where I placed the bomb at. So you have to kind of line yourself up with the enemies in order to take them out. But because of the 5 different locations and lots of different items to find and things that give you accessibility to new secrets and all of that, this actually ends up feeling like a very large world and makes for a very interesting adventure game that like I said, I don't think people are giving Space Hunter enough discussion and enough credit. Definitely worth checking out. Next Famicom adventure game is one that is one of my favorite games on the Famicom. This is Valkyrie Nobody. So, Valkyrie is best known in the West for a TurboGrafx-16, sort of a top-down shooter that involved Valkyrie, this character. But there was a time in which she was actually kind of one of Namco's unofficial mascots after Pac-Man had kind of run its course. They were using Valkyrie for a lot of stuff, and you still see her show up in modern games like fighting games and stuff. But Valkyrie Nobody is, best way I can describe it, it is a mashup of The Legend of Zelda and Dragon Quest. It has a kind of a little bit more action combat like Zelda. It has dungeons where you can find items that allow you to access new places. It has some puzzles like Zelda, but it has a Dragon Quest style flow to it, where a lot of the game is spent sort of grinding and leveling up your character so that you can access the deeper, more difficult areas. So it kind of has that nice blend of the two games. I absolutely adore this game. There are a number of items that you need to find in order to go defeat the last boss, and it can actually be quite challenging without a walkthrough. but it's so much fun. And early in the game, you get a spell that allows you to see invisible items, and that opens up a whole new world of not only now am I searching the world for treasure and stuff, but I'm also hunting the world and casting the spell to figure out where all the hidden stuff, which will really make me powerful early, is located. One thing I recommend if you try Valkyrie Nobody, you either use quick saves or do like I did and just leave your console on. The password doesn't save everything. It doesn't save all your items. It's very odd that they went that route. But in order to not lose progress, you're better off either using a Retron with save states, or, like I said, I just left my NES on for a couple of days until I completed it. But excellent, excellent adventure game. Next up is another classic from Namco that never made it to the US. This one is Dragon Buster in this cool glittery gold cartridge. Now make sure you're picking up Dragon Buster 1 if you're looking into this series. Dragon Buster 2 is an entirely different game and not nearly as good. But the first Dragon Buster is actually based on an original arcade game where it is a side-scrolling, not really a platformer, more like a side-scrolling fighting game, if you could call it that, or a side-scrolling RPG, where you're fighting through monsters, you're exploring these dungeons, you're finding items which then allow you, stronger attacks against monsters or access to new areas. It's kind of a non-linear path through the game. In many ways, this game kind of has the feel of take like those old side-scrolling adventure RPGs like a Zelda 2 or an Ys 3. But then take some inspiration from early arcade games like Tower of Druaga and sort of mash those together. And that's where you get Dragon Buster, a very unique, very fun game that I don't believe has any Japanese text at all in it, if I remember right. Maybe in a story or something somewhere, but very playable to American audience and very, very good. So last recommendation in this Famicom Starter Kit is absolutely not least. It is Konami's King Kong 2. King Kong 2 is another one of, I consider one of the best games on the Nintendo Famicom, especially one of the best exclusives. King Kong 2, made by the same guys who made the Goonies 2 and a number of the other great early open world games, is itself an open world, top-down, kind of an adventure Zelda smash 'em up. So you play as King Kong. There are 8 worlds, but those worlds are interconnected all over the place by little teleport pads that'll let you really kind of find secret entrances and exits to every world. But you're trying to get deeper and deeper into each of the 8 worlds to defeat each of the 8 bosses in order to complete the journey and save Mrs. Kong. Now, King Kong is quite powerful on his own. He can run around, he can throw stuff, he can smash enemies, but he can also smash up buildings, and inside those buildings you'll find power-ups and pickups. Explore deeper and deeper into the dungeons and you'll find health upgrades and all sorts of great stuff that allows you more and more access to this big interconnected world. King Kong 2 is a fantastic game, and it actually boggles my mind that this one never made it to the US. It absolutely should have. It very much deserves your attention, and it is not an expensive game to pick up, so highly, highly recommended. So something that I'm setting up right now is I'm starting to set up and sell Famicom starter kits through my Etsy shop at Syncoplay Retro Gaming. So this was an example of an adventure Famicom starter kit. Not every starter kit will contain the same set of games. It's sort of a mystery box format, but they are all handpicked by me in order to be games that are good games, that are playable by an English-speaking audience, and that are in the cartridge itself is in good enough shape in order to display it. because part of the Famicom Starter Kit also contains a retro game stand for displaying those games, a family computer shelf logo to add to your display, and optionally, if you need a way to play the games, we have a cartridge converter which will take the Famicom cartridge and allow you to plug it into your NES so that you can play it straight from an American Nintendo. So if you're interested in that, definitely check out the link down in the description. It'll have a link to my Etsy shop in which I am doing these. This is a test to see, you know, one, are people interested in these Famicom games? And two, can we get more people talking about the Famicom? Because man, it's got some great games on it. So besides that, if you want to see more videos like this, I do a lot of Famicom, do a lot of other stuff as well. If you like the video, hit the subscribe button. Please hit the bell next to it. That'll let you get notifications when I put up new videos. And I thank you for your time, and I hope you have a great day.